Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another outstanding episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. In one corner, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money, Mary Jane, or Popeye spinach. He is the tranquil dart of Ringside Society, Delaware's greatest American hero. And whenever he goes to Taco Bell, he asks for a cheap burrito because he loves the combination of chicken and beef. It takes two to make a thing go right. He is Rob Bass, and you are not. And the second corner, we have that ocean crossing, straight up Boston, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always on the go. Catch him if you can. Fresh off a flight from Amsterdam, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide star boy, Remy Blue. But it's not about us. You see, we have a special guest tonight with us, a man who has actually had the honor of graduating from one of the now prestigious, then again, they always had prestige when they started, wrestling schools in the world, the Nightmare Factory. He actually graduated as part of the Nightmare Factory Tab 7. And yeah, lucky number 7. And he actually topped it off by actually getting a victory over his opponent at the following student showcase. And he's been making a name for himself since then. Everybody, welcome to the show, Captain Tokebeard Trent Edwards. How you doing tonight, sir?
Thank you, Remy. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, man, I always get excited to talk to one of y'all. One of the students from Nightmare Factory. Y'all been doing great work there. I've been watching since Camp 2 graduated, and then when I found out, there's that I'm at Camp 2, I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go show Camp 1 some love. And we've been watching y'all stuff, interviewing y'all from since then, and we're just happy to see y'all are still doing your thing, and we always look forward to the shows and everything. But how's everything been for you so far? I mean, I know it's been a year since you actually graduated with Camp 7. How have things been for you since then?
2 years. It was 2
Oh yeah,
years
two
back
years.
in late August. I want to say August 27th, 28th. It was 2 years. Actually, Tommy Mars from that same camp, he had reached out. He sent me a few memories that had gone down that showcase, and I was like, wow, 2 years already? That's incredible. What a hell of a ride for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Tommy Mars, Nikki Eight, pretty much the superstars. Hopefully, we can get them on the show, if not together, separately. But those guys are definitely killing it. We've had young up and comers like CJ Montana, and
Yeah, he
also
graduated with me.
yeah, and we also had his opponent at that showcase, Jack Ledger,
Yeah.
on our show.
So it's
And it's
funny about
funny
the
how
superstars. I actually wanted to talk about them for a second.
okay,
We all actually lived together at one point in our wrestling journey. This was real early on. I remember doing a bunch of shows with them, and we were riding together. And I think we had did a show in North Florida, Wazoo, Florida. I don't know. I butchered the name, but I'll never forget this drive. It was me, Nikki Eight, and Tommy Mars, and we were in my old Mazda 3. It was like a 2012 green, just beat up. It had been dinged up a few times, and we were driving back, and me and Nikki were talking about, living together, and pretty much when we could make that happen. And when we got back, we ended up making it happen, I think a week later. And then Tommy, he moved in right after. I remember walking in one day, seeing him there, and I'm like, "You're pretty much living with me now, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And I was like, "Hey, you're good for this month. Pay me next month." And we were pretty much living together for about 6 or 7 months in Georgia, and that I would have to say was the best experience. It was a one-bedroom apartment, three dudes, two of them living on a couch, and it was exactly what you'd expect it to be.
okay, wow, that's awesome. That's a great story, man. Um, I've seen the superstars. If I had to say something great about them, it would be like people just got to watch out, man, because those guys are definitely on their way, and they're definitely gonna be a force to reckon with in the coming years. But let's talk about you, man. Captain Tokebeard, Hellbent Trent Edwards, the
Shoot,
man of several monikers, man. You know,
Hellbent Trent.
I gotta ask you, um, how did it all start for you? How did your fandom start for you with professional wrestling? What was the match or the event that got you hooked?
That's a great question, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can't say it was a match. I can tell you the distinct memory, and it was a Raw episode, and it was Triple H and Shawn Michaels. This was when they were doing the DX bit. I don't remember if they were going up against Rated RKO or if they were going up against the Spirit Squad. It was one or the other. And I remember they just gotten their butts kicked real. They had just gotten their butts kicked like the week prior or whatever, and they pretty much just came in all hell bent, and they were just ready to beat someone's butt. And then I remember that same show, I think Bobby Lashley had jumped somebody. If I'm getting all the shows the same, obviously this was like, I'm 27 now, so I'd say this was over 20 years ago, if
Yeah.
that. So, that I would say that was a very distinct memory. Cyber Sunday 2007, I would
Mhm.
say the pay-per-view I remember the most. The Triple H Umaga street fight, the special guest referee between Undertaker and Batista. Stone Cold ended up doing that one. Just a lot of things. I remember the WWE Championship. It was like Shawn Michaels, Jeff Hardy, and Mr. Kennedy. And whoever didn't win the vote ended up going up against each other. And Mr. Kennedy, I believe, won that match. Like when it comes to 2007 wrestling, I have impeccable memory for whatever reason. Like that is my favorite time period. So yeah, I would say that was what sparked the interest the most.
Well, 2000, 2007 was actually a pretty good year in wrestling. Um, I tend to call it like probably one of the last good years because 2007 was good. 2008 was kind of good. 2007, okay, it was decent. But then afterwards, like 2010, 2010s came out, I was like, ugh, what are you guys doing? I can't deal with you. I'm going to just read the results and just go about my life and watch something else
Yeah,
and whatnot. But 2007 was definitely an interesting year. One of my favorite. I remember that year. That one of my favorite. I know you remember this tag team, or you might remember them. Robin, or you definitely remember them. London and Kendrick.
yeah,
They made it to becoming, I think, the second longest
yeah,
reigning WWE champions. In all. I mean, the record's since been broken by the Usos, but they were the second longest reigning champions at that time, and they lost to Deuce and Domino. And I was like, I was so mad. I was like, who are these guys? They're just like a Grease cover group. Like they lose the titles to them. Are you serious? But I remember that year specific. That was one of the things I remember from that year.
yeah. Yeah,
So
I remember. I was actually Deuce and Domino were over with me. I was a fan of so many different. It didn't matter if they were like great, or if they were cheesy or whatever. Like I was a fan, like Deuce and Domino for whatever reason. I was like, yeah, I like them. And then they did the whole feud with Jesse and Festus, and that was I'll never forget that one. That was another one where he would just like ring would go and he would just go all over
oh,
the
yeah,
place.
yeah. Those are definitely some interesting times. So growing up, did you ever get to go to any of the shows in person, or did you ever get to meet any of the wrestlers growing up?
All right. So growing up, I don't remember meeting a lot of wrestlers growing up, but I do remember going to a few shows. My mom and dad were pretty good about, if they came in, because I was born and raised from Tampa Bay,
Mhm.
Florida. So if they came to Amalie or Orlando, actually, I do have two separate stories about me remembering going to a SmackDown and a Raw. One
Okay.
of them was the SmackDown after the 2007 Survivor Series. Edge had came in, he disrupted the main event, and then we find out that him and Vicky were, doing. They were pretty much doing the thing in story, and that's how he ended up getting his opportunities. But I remember being at the Tampa show, and I want to say it was like MVP and Finley or someone versus Rey Mysterio. I forgot that match, but I remember being there. It was like in the end of November. Um, but the Raw, the first Raw I ever went to, my mom took me for my birthday. It was the Raw after Ric Flair had his supposed to be final match at WrestleMania 24. And that event was absolutely amazing. I was in fifth grade at the time, and yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember just after the show, they were doing the whole Ric Flair ceremony, and then Taker came down, did his thing. I don't know if that was on TV or not. I never did go back and rewatch it. I do remember hearing that there was some stuff that was done in the ring that wasn't done on TV. But I remember that Taker moment just being powerful. And then the Four Horsemen, I remember them coming out. That was a big. I had a Triple H shirt, I believe. I want to say it was a shirt. I had a picture somewhere, but yeah, that Raw after WrestleMania 24, one of the biggest ones I remember.
Oh yeah, that was the one where Ric Flair he, he had his retirement match. He lost to Shawn Michaels, and I remember that when Shawn Michaels, before he did the Sweet Chin Music, he was like, "I'm sorry, I love you," and I was like, "Wow, that was iconic, man." I was yeah, man, those were the times, man. Oh geez, yeah.
So yeah, those are great times. Those were the years that I grew up with that I definitely remember the most. And that WrestleMania 24, I remember that was like a birthday present. I'm born around that. About my birthday always falls around WrestleMania. I think one
Okay.
year it fell on what was this past one? It was WrestleMania 41, so it fell on the
Yeah.
Sunday of WrestleMania 40, and that was huge. And we were all, because remember, we're all Nightmare guys, so we're like rooting for Cody, and this is a big match. And WrestleMania 40 ended the way it did, and yeah, I'll never forget the reactions that were in the room. My reaction, it was just, that was an incredible birthday, but I'll never forget. It was, and then it led to WrestleMania 41, where we finally got to finish the story for him.
Yeah, it was WrestleMania 40. Yeah,
Yep.
I think yeah, it's WrestleMania 40. Was
Yep.
it? Yeah, WrestleMania 40. Yeah.
Yep. It fell on April 2nd, I want to say, was the Sunday it fell on. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a great event.
I could imagine the reaction of y'all's because when Cody finally when he finally won the championship from Roman Reigns, I was imagining how everybody else's um reaction was, because if you look at our history, we've had so many people, the Renegade Twins, the Business, TSF, the Diamond Sheik, who actually was the first one we started interviewing from Nightmare Factory. And I was wondering what was going through their minds, seeing their coach actually finally finish his story. And then there was two other guys. Geez, I forgot. I think it was there's two guys there that trained earlier camps than y'all, that trained with the Nightmare Factory, and they also trained at Black and the Brave, which is Seth Rollins' training school. And I
Okay.
was wondering, man, it's his name is probably the two guys' name. We had one of them on our show. Their names are probably going to come back to us, but I was wondering what their reactions were seeing their coaches get involved, be in that match. Like I was like, they must be um like on at the edge of their seats, a range of emotions. I could imagine. But I was
It
happy Cody finally
definitely
won that
was
though.
a lot like that. I can say for me personally, it was a sense of pride because, that's the man who pretty much opened the door for a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers, and he put his name on the Nightmare Factory, him and Coach QT and Coach Glacier and Coach Billy. And Coach Cody went out there and won the championship. And that's a sense of pride because not a lot of people, except for maybe Black and Brave and Reality of Wrestling, and there's a few others that can say their head coach is the top guy in wrestling right now.
Oh
And
yeah.
that it's a huge sense of pride to take.
Oh yeah. Definitely. So I gotta ask you, man. So in regards to wrestling, you're going to the shows, you're cheering your favorites. You're supporting. How did your journey go from Trent Edwards, wrestling fan, to now Trent Edwards, Captain Tokebeard, Camp Nightmare Factory Camp 7 graduate? Like, how'd you end up falling in line with Nightmare Factory?
I thank you, Remy. That is actually one of my favorite questions to ever get asked because this actually goes. I always credit my wrestling, how it starts, to actually vampires and werewolves. And the reason why I say that is because before wrestling was, I was a wrestler, before I was doing anything as an adult, I want to say I was about 17 years old, maybe just turned 18, and I had done a Vampire Diaries convention. So a little background on me: my mom, she basically kind of books, I want to say, actors and wrestlers and other celebrities into conventions, and through time, she had made some friends, and she had made really good friends with this company called Icon. And Icon at the time was doing Vampire Diary conventions, and so I was able to come on as security, and from there, I met this really remarkable woman. She's considered my wrestling mom today. She's Mama Cat. She's actually the wife of Wildcat Chris Harris from TNA, TNA
Okay.
legend, seven-time NWA tag team champion. Super remarkable people. Chris is a remarkable human being, just an amazing person. And that's where it kind of starts because I remember inquiring to Shannon back in 2020. I want to say 2021. It was like in February, and I said something about becoming a wrestler, and I remember me and Chris talking about it for a little bit, and then I had veered off for a second, and then the opportunity to go to the Nightmare Factory came, and I took it, and that's essentially how it starts. It starts with Shannon and Chris Harris, and if it were not for them, I would not be a professional wrestler today. I can without a doubt say that.
Wow, that's awesome, man. That's great. Wildcat Chris Harris, man. I really truly wish they would have done more with him in TNA. I mean, I know he left back in '06, '07. Had a brief run in WWE, and once he left WWE, we didn't really hear from him. But I always wondered what about him, what happened.
I
I
mean,
know James.
I can tell you some stuff. I mean, I can tell you he did pretty. I mean, for what he did in TNA was remarkable. I mean, he's put on one of the biggest highlights, the one where Elix Skipper, Hurricane Rana's him off the top of the cage. I
Yeah.
mean, being the seven-time tag team champion there is definitely. Um, they should put him in the Hall of Fame for that. Him and James Storms, they should put them both in the Hall of Fame for just that feat alone. But he's also been running a pretty successful independent wrestling program up in a promotion up in Kentucky, Ohio with Roger Ruffin, Northern Wrestling Federation.
Okay.
Another one. If you definitely give them a peep, look at some of their guys and girls. They are talented. What Chris and Roger and Tony are doing with those individuals, those wrestlers, is remarkable. They're just killing it. They're killing it up there. And every time I go up there to wrestle, it is one of the best locker rooms you'll ever be part of. Though I mean, every single wrestler just takes you in like their family, like they've known you forever. I remember working with Sinclair Octavius Bentley, and he was the absolute best person to just talk to, call, talk over everything, get everything in line, and just, we go out there and we are having a great match, and the fans are into it. It just, NWF, Northern Wrestling Federation, out of Miami and or out of Ohio and Kentucky.
I'll definitely be sure to make a note of that. But I know that back in the day, um, America's Most Wanted, which was Chris Harris and James Storm. That was that tag team right there, man. And then, James Storm went on to, of course, do Beer Money. But I always hope for that one little reunion. I'm convinced I could book some of this stuff, man. Like right there. No, 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 really. So here's the thing about me. I will never judge a wrestler's in-ring work. But one thing I would always swear up and down, I could book a show. And Chris Harris right there, to me, I think they should have brought him in and had him do like an angle where he's he, I, Robert Roode and Bobby Roode and James Storm getting something with some other tag team. Chris Harris comes out to save the day. Bobby Roode feels away. Chris Harris feels away because Bobby Roode feels like he's his tag team partner now. Chris Harris feels like, hey, you know what? We're better off just going back to AMW. And then like Bobby's in the middle, like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, what do I choose? Do I go to pass or just move on? And stuff like that. So that'd be a great angle right there. But hey, that's the business for you.
That is a business. I will say, I do think there is a rumor that Cowboy James Storms is supposed to be making an appearance at that NWF for Chris Harris. So you might be able to see that reunion. And they've been on TNA. That was another thing. So during camp, I remember TNA coming to town, and we set up for TNA. Like the Nightmare Factory had a deal with TNA where they used the ring, so we came in and set it up for them. And that was a really cool experience just to be part of that. But remember, like, I'm friends with Shannon and Chris, and so I was able to watch the show with Shannon and one of our friends, Tiffany. And we are watching, and Chris and James are pretty much tagging in this. I want to say, was it 10-man, 8-man tag? And Chris goes up to the top rope and he hits his death sentence, and you would have thought the person next to me was going to have a heart attack, but she was absolutely proud. I can tell you that.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's awesome, man. Wow, you see, y'all, we're talking to a guy that knows Chris Harris personally. You never know you never know. This is what I tell y'all. Y'all gotta watch us. You never know who we're gonna have on our show. So I gotta say, Trent, so you graduate Camp 7, Coach Cody, Coach Billy, all your coaches give you that handshake, that pat on the back. Congratulations. You are officially a graduate of the Nightmare Factory. You're an alumni. You can actually go ahead and say you're a professional wrestler and take bookings all over the country, if not all over the world. But you have the student showcase coming up. You have the student showcase coming up, and your opponent is a guy who actually has the size advantage and the athletic advantage in one Prime Works. I forgot, it's Prime Works
It's
offline. I
Prime
think
Works
that's
Off Work, I believe is his name.
Prime Works off.
I have a very
We have
good
him on the
memory.
next. We talk. We're gonna have him on next week actually. So we're working on that. But Prime Works off work. That's your opponent, a guy who has who's a high school athlete. He actually was on the football team. You got that guy. You got the win. You got the win, and you pinned him. You pinned him with a spear. I was like, wow. If I was Prime, I would have been hot because all the times I've been, I've been tackling people in high school, tackling people left, right, and I got this guy who I have the size advantage over, and he just beats me with a spear, folds me up, and I'm done. What was it like going through that? What was that going through that match? Like, were you nervous or were you confident, or was it a mixture of both feelings?
All right, I'm gonna start you out on the Monday of because we treated this first match, I treated it like it was a Super Bowl. Like this was the biggest thing I've done since I was 15. I haven't played sports since I was 15 at this point. I had just been a little delinquent trend up until I turned 18, and then from there on, there forth. So we did Monday. We were training. I dislodge one of my ribs on my left side. I'll never forget it. It was a very tough week of practice because I remember that happening, and then we were just going through it, and I'm like, oh, Lord, how are we going to make through this match? We get there, and the day comes, and my mom and my sister had come up from Tampa, and they came to watch, and, I think we went out to breakfast that morning, and then I went to the show, and we're getting ready. We're setting everything up. We're doing our thing. And one of my best friends, and thanks to wrestling, Trevor Blackwell, he's another one from the Nightmare Factory. Someone who also doesn't get enough recognition or credit. That kid is absolutely.
The Southeast Squad, right? It's him and
Yep, he's from this. Yep, is he's going to be on TV. That kid's going to get signed. But back to the week, he asked me, how do you feel about this? And I'm like, I feel pretty confident. I feel pretty confident in the match. I feel pretty confident we're going to get through it. Keep in mind, I'm nursing a dislodged rib. First match, I'm nervous. We don't know what's going to happen. And we're going there. We're getting ready. Day's going on at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. We're about to step on the show, started everything up. And I started seeing some of my friends from the convention world that I made. And I start seeing one walk in. And I'm like, I'm confused. I'm like, hey, good to see you. Oh, you're here to watch the match? Perfect. It was Tiffany, the one who had came to the match with me and Shannon. And she came down. She found my mom. And then all of a sudden, I start seeing everybody. All like I want to say we had 30 deep from my convention friends, my convention family, the Icon family. We had 30 deep come in, and I was thrown away. So then now I'm like nervous, and then I'm like really nervous because these are like my peoples. These are people that I would have. One, I didn't think they were coming. Two, they've known me since I was 16, 17 years old, and at this point I'm 25, about to be 26, and I'm like, oh Lord, now I'm really nervous. And so we do our thing. We go out there, we have the match. And they were lit for me. They were on fire. They did everything they needed to do. And I think that is ultimately why we were able to come away with a victory. I don't think it has anything to do with, obviously I'm very talented and I can go out there and pin the best of them. But I largely think the main reason we beat Prime Works that night was because of the 30 fans that we brought in just out of nowhere. Just not even my fans, my friends, my family. And there's a picture on my Instagram, and I'm sure it's somewhere you can see all of them, and it was incredible. And I think that's when I was like, all right, now it's time to get these wheels going and churning.
Yeah, that was a pretty awesome match. I remember that. I was like, and I was going by what the announcers were saying. The commentators were saying, yeah, Prime has the athletic advantage. They didn't mention anything about your background, so I didn't mean no slight about that. Like I
No,
just
you're
went by
good.
what they were saying. But that was a pretty good match. And I also saw another match. You also had a rivalry with one hustler, Rob Reese, and
Oh
you pretty
yeah,
much you pretty much you were about to walk the plank, and
yeah.
which is a very creative. I like that. That was a very creative thing. You were about to walk the plank, you got away. You didn't get away the second time. That was a really great match.
Thank you.
So what was behind that rivalry? Like, because y'all were like tearing down the house.
We were. I think we were two guys that were put on wrestling at Southern's roster. At the time, they were wrestling at Southern, and we were two guys who really didn't have much of a name of ourselves. And I can definitely say we went out there and had a match, and I think we ended off with the street fight and or whatever they had called it. And yeah, I don't really remember much about it, honestly, because I remember taking shots to the head, and I was like, it's a blur from that match. But I do remember having the street fight, and we were, pretty much everything up until that point. I want to say there was a match beforehand that we had at where I like low blowed him. I do remember rewatching that one. That was
Mhm.
uh, that was a fun match because that was one of my last matches while I was living in Georgia.
Okay.
And I remember just some of the friends that I had in the crowd that night. They're friends that are going to last forever. And, it's stuff like that. Um, yeah, I do remember having a pretty much a war with Rick Reese, and he ended up beating me.
Yeah, that was a very entertaining match. I actually enjoyed watching that,
Okay.
and hopefully we get to see some more of that. Hopefully we get to see some more of that on a bigger scale. One day I'm like, wait, yeah, I just saw these two guys battling on YouTube. Now they're battling in AEW, or they're battling on TNA or WWE. I'm like, wow, like that's it's great to see, man. It's
Yeah.
it's
Hell
it's
yeah.
great to see. So I just got like two or three more questions before I pass it over to Rob. So you're Captain Toby. First you were Hellbent Trent. Now you're Captain Tokebeard. So how that all like come about, man? Because
Man, you're asking the
I'm a
best
fan of
questions,
I'm a
Remy.
fan of Jack Sparrow. I got
I
nothing but
love
love for
Jack
the guy.
Sparrow. Listen, I don't know if y'all can see it too well. The sparrow tattoo.
Hey, okay.
I got the sparrow tattoo literally. When I got my whole, y'all seen the sleeve. I've got that tattoo. That tattoo means something because that tattoo came, I want to say, a few days after Johnny Depp won that court case. The big
Okay.
one where not a lot of people where a lot of people turned their back on him, and then they realized
Yeah.
there was more to that story. That was that tattoo. So I love Johnny Depp. A little background with Pirates of the Caribbean. I talked about my mom earlier about how she had books actors and celebrities in conventions. There are a few that are from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Um, I've worked with the Marty Kleba. He was the dwarf pirate. He absolute talented actor. He was also the raptor in Jurassic World that was fighting Chris Pratt in that openings or that in that scene where they're in the raptor pen.
Okay.
That was him, or no, never mind. It wasn't that one. He was one of the flyers, and I remember he had thrown him off. There was a
Mm,
different scene with the raptor, but yeah, there was a crazy scene because Martin almost passed away because he had hit his head. But he's a tough guy, so it's really hard to bring a guy like him down. Then there's Lee Arenberg. He was Pintel. He's one of my favorite ones too. He that man is an awesome man. And there was Gibbs. We have worked with him through her, so I got to meet a lot of pirates from the Pirates of the Caribbean because of my mother and her job. But the way Hellbent Trent transitioned into Captain Tokebeard actually stems from a buddy of mine. He's also in the wrestling industry, Dirty Devin Diaz. Definitely another man I would reach out and have a podcast with. He's another remarkable one. He's going to be someone you're going to see on the circuit. He's definitely, I would say, the top Florida name right now. If
okay.
someone find someone better than him, please come find me and show me how they're better because Devin's really talented. But back to that credit, I remember being on the phone with him. He was watching one of my matches from GPW, and I was wrestling a kid named Ryan. Really nice kid, really awesome person. And Devin was watching the match, and he's like, Trent, you're doing a lot of things right. You're in the right direction, but you're boring. You have no character. You need to figure out a way to get to the crowd if you're going to be a babyface. And so we're spitballing ideas, and he said, why don't you be a pirate? You're from Tampa. You're a big Bucks fan, huge Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. You eat, sleep, breathe the lifestyle. Why don't you just take it on as your gimmick? And from there on, and Tommy and Nikki can tell you this because they were living with me when we did the whole switch. I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean 1 through 5 like every single day. The only time I was actually able to watch wrestling was when Tommy would put it on the big screen, so that way I could actually distract myself from the Pirates movies. But that is how we made the transition. And there were a lot of people who said, you know, you can't, that's going to be a hard gimmick to get over. It really pigeonholes you. It's very hokey, corny, childish, whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm probably the perfect person for that because if anyone can act like a child, I know I can. I mean, I'm literally a 27-year-old child, and I'll say that till the day I die.
Yeah, people just gotta believe in the character development, man. You just gotta believe in it. And um honestly speaking, I think a Captain Jack Sparrow gimmick could there could be some development where it could last a long time. You just gotta search within and
Right.
keep at it. You know. There's some gimmicks that I thought would have like been just just like a one off, you know, kind of like it's only going to be one dimensional. It's not going to go anywhere. And then in hindsight, when I look back at it, I was like, if I were writing, like I said, once again, I swear up and not I could do well in creative. I was like, I could have done something more with that gimmick. How about I twist it a certain way so that it can actually get to the next level? Like, case in point, R.I.P. Mantar. Mantar that actually had one where he would have, pretty much become a biker, still representing the bull thing, but he could have been a biker with like a bull sign on the back on his back, or something like, or something along those lines. You just gotta look like certain gimmicks you just shouldn't pass. Like for example, Marty Jannetty. Marty
Yeah.
Jannetty, if he had actually, if he, we all know his personal matter. I'm not gonna say the man's business, but he had some personal matters he had to deal with that kind of kept him from, getting to the next level. But Marty Jannetty, OG rocker, okay, he's a rocker. What do rockers do? They party, they drink, right?
Yeah.
Attitude Era is coming up. Just switch it. He's no longer partying and wearing frills. He's a guy that's no, I mean he's no longer running and wearing frills to the ring. He's a guy that's partying. The ladies love him, and that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
That could have been that's one thing right there. I mean, that I would have done. I would, so I would say, man, and I'm not just saying this because you're in front of me, or you're on the show, but I would say I think you could do some stuff with the pirate gimmick, man. I think you could definitely, you know, level up with that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I do love doing the pirate gimmick. I mean, there was a picture on my Instagram. There's several pictures on my Instagram that I've taken with fans, and I posted them, and they're typically with the younger generation, the kids. And that's really why I like doing the pirate gimmick, because it's a very easy way to connect with them. There's nothing better than giving a kid an eye patch or beads or getting them into the walk the plank chant. Like, they get into it more than anybody. Like, I thought, I was going to get the adults into it, because a lot of adults do like the pirate stuff. Like, once you get to the Gasparilla part of it, kids get into it more than anything. But that takes me back to what Coach Glacier, because Coach Glacier really taught me the most in terms of like just psychology, and just why the whys you do things with your gimmick. And it's memorable, it's imitatable, and it's relatable. And that's the three things that I try to make sure with my gimmick that I do with the kids, is at least hit the relatable part. And if I can make sure I'm relating with them, then they'll remember me for sure. So, as long as I can hit those points, we're good.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I just got two more questions before I turn it over to Rob. So my second to last question. I know pretty much you're making a name for yourself, pretty much kicking butt, taking names, making people pretty much walking the plank on all your haters and whatnot. I gotta ask you though. I know you want to get all the belts, but if you had to go up for some tag team championships or even some trios championships, because I mean AEW has them now, Ring of Honor has them, New Japan, even CMLL over in Mexico and AAA they have them. Who would be your partner to get the tag team titles, and who would be your third man to go after the trios titles?
I mean, that's a good question. I would say my tag team partner, I would probably pick Trevor. Actually, probably I would pick Trevor Blackwell to go and take the tag team titles. I mean, like I said earlier, the kid is absolutely remarkable. He's another one. Talk to me in Georgia. Tell me who can do what he's doing at his level better than him. If I had him in my corner every single time. In fact, me and him tagged before against my boys, the Superstars, and we pulled off the Tampa Bay win. So, I mean, I
Okay.
definitely could see me and Trevor Blackwell winning the tag belts. And as for the trios, I'll be real, brother. I think we're that good as a tag team to win the trios in the 2-on-3 tag team. So that's something I'll stand business on.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So my final question, man. My final question. Um, if you had to meet, if you got to meet Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow, one on one, you guys just chilling at Starbucks, chilling at the bar, getting a couple of beers and whatnot. What would you tell him? Like, what would your reaction be towards like? Because to me, he's one of the greatest actors of all time. And I hope he gets his footing back with the world of in the world. I think he'll be okay. I mean, he's innocent. He'll be okay. Well, what would you say to him to Johnny Depp if you met him in person?
I would thank Johnny. I would thank Johnny for everything he's done, from Edward Scissorhands and Nightmare on Elm Street to Pirates of the Caribbean, to Crybaby. I would thank him. That court case. We'll talk about this on another, probably on another date. But that court case is a big deal, and
Yeah.
I'll just make sure I thank Johnny Depp for everything he's done, because regardless of what people say, my opinion on Johnny will always be a very positive opinion. Um, so yeah, it would be a big thank you to Johnny.
Yeah. You know what I would like to see, come to think about it? I'd like to see Johnny Depp and one of my other favorite actors. I don't know if it's been done yet, but I'm hoping that maybe they will. Johnny Depp and Keanu Reeves in the same movie.
I don't think I've seen that. I don't think that's happened.
Two men that are pretty much enigmas, but are that damn good at what they do.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't mind seeing. You know, those because those guys were like Keanu. I don't think anybody has anything bad to say about Keanu. Keanu's that guy. I've been a fan of his since Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh yeah.
But I would like to see that hopefully one day. Just even if it's a commercial, can we just get those two in the same room?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I would love to see Keanu in a Star Wars film. That's what I would love to see. But I think every Star Wars fan.
It's not a Star Wars film, but I heard a rumor. And for those of you listening, it's just a rumor. Please do not crucify me if it's not true. I've
Don't
heard
worry,
some
brother. I'm
rumblings
one of the
that
normal Star Wars fans. You don't gotta worry.
I've heard some rumblings that he might be in the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So
That would be cool.
I wouldn't
You
mind.
got everybody already. You might as well have him too.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
definitely.
funny enough about MCU, before we go to Rob, Tracksuit Mafia from the Hawkeye. Have you seen Hawkeye?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Look up Tracksuit Mafia. The tall dude, Alec Panovich. I don't know his
Uh-huh.
character name. I know his real name. He's another one. He did the music for my showcase. So he's an actual band. He's a real musician, real actor. My
Hmm.
mom reps him under Lomo Pro. He had a song, and I really liked the song. He allowed me to use his music for the first few months of my wrestling career before I turned into the Pirate. But yeah, only a little thing about MCU.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Rob. I know Rob has a couple of questions for you as well. Rob, go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
All right, sweet. Thanks, Herbie. So what's going on, man? How's everything? How's everything going today? How's
It's
the day
going
been
good,
for you?
mate. It's going good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. It's kind of chilly. I'm here in Delaware, man. It's chilly. Are you in the Eastern time zone, man? Are you in Tampa right now?
I'm in Tampa right now. We're
Are
on the.
are
I
you
think
in
we're
the
on the
Eastern?
same side.
Okay, you're on Eastern time. Because I know like the Panhandle somewhere it changes over. I
Yeah,
can't remember
up
if
in
it
the
changes over.
Alabama area, they'll switch over.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Because I remember going down there and being on like the west side of Florida one time. Like, man, I know somewhere over like like a couple miles this way. I'll be like, and you go back in time like an hour. I
Yeah,
was like, man, that's pretty cool.
yeah, it is pretty cool. I do. Yeah, I definitely know that.
So I gotta ask, pirate stuff, man. You're talking about Captain Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean movies, man. Like what are your favorite do you other than those do you have any other favorite like pirate type movies or TV shows, like for me, like I don't know if you ever watched the show Archer, but the first three episodes of season four, he gets kidnapped by pirates and turns into a pirate king, and it is like the funniest thing ever. Like if I just want to laugh, I'll just put those in. They're hilarious. That and the South Park one where Cartman ran away to be a pirate. I love those. Good, yeah. But like, what are yours? Do you have any like favorite other other than that? Do you have any favorite pirate
Man, I
like
gotta
shows?
think about that one. Let's see. I know. I've heard of. I know One Piece was a big deal back when I was a kid, like the actual anime. I haven't really watched much of it in the recent years. And I definitely haven't seen the Netflix adaptation. As for pirates, and like in terms of like actual like other than Pirates of the Caribbean that are solely genred on pirates, I can't really think of. I think Pirates of the Caribbean is honestly the largest, the biggest one. I know when I've watched like Star Wars, like the Clone Wars series, they have Honda Anaka, and he's a space pirate. I know there's like other Avatar: The Last Airbender has their little pirate gimmicks that they run through in the first season. I know. I want to say it was Mandalorian. Maybe it might have been. I think it's Mandalorian that ran, or it was Boba Fett that had a pirate deal going on in their season. But I can definitely say Pirates of the Caribbean is the only one that I took a lot of my interest from, or my ideas from.
Now, do you have any favorite like favorite pirates, like legendary ones, or any favorite pirate legends? Like what do you think of Oak Island? Do you think Oak Island, it's been on TV for like 50 years and they still ain't found nothing, like do you have any like cool legends or anything like that, like that you like, or favorite pirates you like that
I mean,
they all
everyone
mention?
likes Blackbeard. I mean, Blackbeard, he would light his tips.
Yeah,
I had a beard that was really large, and that was an idea to run with at one point, was to light the tips on fire and just come in like
mhm,
a smoky pirate, the way
yeah,
Blackbeard
yeah. He was
would.
really token with that beard.
Yeah, so that was definitely an idea. I would say Blackbeard would be the biggest one for sure. It was just the whole smoke idea just fit the Tokebeard gimmick because you can only do so much with the Tokebeard
Yeah.
gimmick in certain states. So, that would have been that'll be an idea that I'll probably end up stealing from an actual pirate, is lighting the tips on fire.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey man, if you come here to Delaware, I work with one CW. All that's legal here, man. You're good to go. You're good to go in Delaware.
Yeah, that's how it
You
is
don't
in
mind messing
Florida.
with you.
Florida's pretty good about it.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, man. So, do you have any like pirate jokes or anything? Because I always hear like the dad joke ones. Like there's one I have. It's a pretty funny one. A guy told me like 20 years ago. He was like, he was like, this pirate was talking to a guy at a bar or whatever. The pirate, he had like, he had the peg leg, eye patch, hook in his hand and stuff, right? So the guy's talking, so he's like, man, so what happened to your leg, man? How did that happen? How'd it get blown off? And all he's like, oh, in a fight, a cannonball, from the other boat, came boom, shot my leg off, and then man, so I had to walk around with peg leg. He's like, oh man, that's crazy, you know what I mean? He's like, so what about that hook, man? There's got to be something also with that hook. He's like, yeah, we were aboard the ship. I got into a duel with somebody, got my hand chopped off and all that good stuff, blah, blah, blah. He's like, man, that's pretty awesome, man. So that eye patch, man, you got to have an awesome story about that eye patch, man. What happened to that? He said, well, I was standing down on the deck. The bird pooped in my eye, and I just got the hook 2 days ago. So,
That's actually a good one. I think you probably got more pirate jokes than I do. I'll be real. I'm not the best at formulating pirate jokes. Where I'm funny at is like more in the roast section sessions, like when you're in the car ride with your boys
mhm,
that you're doing the shows with,
yeah,
and we're just chewing each other, roasting each other, the
yeah, I
classic
love
Tom
those.
Brady roast.
Hmm.
I think that's where I can come in with more jokes, but I know when I did GPW, Georgia Premier Wrestling, the owner, Josh Cantrell, he had came to me, very nice. He is a good man. Josh Cantrell, if y'all ever get to talk to him, he is a good man. I'm not really going to tell you why he's a good man, because it just has a lot to do with me in terms of not wrestling, but he's a good man. But he came to me before going out into the curtain one time, and he was like, I want you to go on the mic and tell a joke. And I was like, oh crap, I'm bad at jokes. What's the joke? And he's like, when you get on the mic, ask go out there and say, what is a pirate's favorite letter? And, naturally the whole crowd's supposed to go, arg. And
Hmm.
he goes, that's when you say, no, it's the C. And then like just do this big old character gesture and just making a big thing. And I was like, that's actually pretty funny. But I ended up forgetting while I was out there because I get too into the entrance, especially at GPW, because they're like really, I don't want to say I'm over with them, but they like me. They like me. So if you like me, I'm gonna, give it back to you. And I think I just got a little carried away. But that was a joke he had told me, and I know that's a dad joke, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I definitely should have said that.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I like looking at those dad jokes, man. All dad jokes. A lot of them are funny. You're just like, oh man, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, there you go. So speaking of, wrestling stuff, man. When is your next show? Do you have anything coming up? We can check you out at. Like, do you have
Yeah,
anything this
so
weekend?
I do have a show tomorrow.
Thanksgiving holiday.
So I do shows pretty frequently. I was off for the last like month and a half because we had gotten hit with those hurricanes down
Mhm.
here. I think it was Milton and Helene, and I was just trying to get a lot of my my sales in order. And but I typically wrestle on the WWN down here at Tampa, and I'll wrestle at their Proving Ground shows on Fridays. And then I do know another promotion that is starting to come up in January 20. I don't know when. I just know 2025 is when it's supposed to come in, and it's Ned Dog Championship Wrestling, and it's a brand new promotion. I'm very excited about it. I want to say Pitbull One from ECW is like one of the names that's behind running the show. So pretty excited about it. Can't wait. We're gonna do some pretty big things with it. So yeah, those are two shows, and then whenever Georgia Premier Wrestling, whenever we put out our dates, I'll end up being at those because that's a pretty good one. When Turnbuckle comes down here in Tampa, I typically like to do those ones because I can bring out my whole family and get the whole crowd going. So those are the shows and then if I ever make it back up to the Midwest for NWF, like I said, that promotion, I always look forward to working with that promotion. It's a very they run it so beautifully. They run it so beautifully up there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's good to hear, man. I like to hear that, man. People, having good locker rooms and where it's easy to just go up there and chill and stuff, man. Yeah, I love hearing that. And plus, you mentioned ECW, man. I'm in Delaware. Philly's like an hour and a half away from me, man. Oh, I love me. Actually, we have one of the old school ECW refs. He comes sometimes and wrestles for us, Jim Milano. And
Okay.
yeah, he's pretty cool. He's a pretty cool dude, man. We're trying to get him on here, man. So, cause I'll be in the back in the locker room chatting with him and stuff. I try not to get too many stories, because I'm trying to get him on here to tell all the good stories, man. I'll be like, yeah, I'm like, hold on, we gotta cut you off. We get you on here sometime. And it's like, yeah, yeah, ECW. I love ECW. My mom, she would not let me go to ECW in Philly, but when they came down here to Delaware, like colleges or wherever, she was like, yeah, because I could take my brother. At the time, he was like 10 or 11, but she was like, hey, no way I'm letting my 16-year-old son who just knows how to drive take his 10, 11-year-old brother up to Philly at ECW arena. She's like, you must be crazy. I'm like, oh, come on, mom. Getting older, you're like, oh yeah, yeah. You were smart on that one. I've been up there like.
Brother, you were a good kid because I'm telling you, if it would have been me and my cousin, we would have told we would have told our parents we're going one way and we would have just went to another. But that's just because we're both adults now and we can't get in trouble. But
Yeah.
that's exactly what would have happened.
You see, I was doing that, but I was like, man, I live in the country and I have a car, and that's
Yeah.
I don't have any other. My friends live in the city, and if I mess with my parents, be like, let me get them keys. It's like, dang,
No,
now I'm stuck.
no,
So
that's
I'm
the
like,
truth.
all right, yeah. So I was like, yeah, some stuff I was like, all right, yeah, I'm good. I need to drive.
Gotta have that car.
Oh yeah, man. My first car, man. Oh, it was a '86 Thunderbird. Ooh. It was nice.
Oh wow, mine was a 2002 Ford Escort. Thing ran like a
Mm.
go-kart. I remember breaking down right before I got on a highway, and that was the moment where I was like, all right, time to get a new car.
My first car, yeah, it broke down like that, and my grandfather bought me my second car. It was like a couple $100 somebody was selling. It had an oil leak, and the oil leak we could never find it, but it would always drip right onto the exhaust pipe. So if I drove anywhere longer than 20 or 30 minutes, it was literally like Cheech and Chong. You would just smell. I'd come out, it was just like smoke was everywhere, or whatever. It was literally just like that, but it's just like hitting the exhaust pipe, the oil just smoking up, and I was just like, oh my god. I had that car for about a year or whatever. I had to deal with that. Like,
That's funny. Hell yeah.
oh man. So where's the farthest you've traveled wrestling? Is it the Midwest? Is that the farthest you've gotten so far?
Yeah, that's so far. I think the farthest I've gone was the Midwest for wrestling. I think I've
Mhm.
traveled to Buffalo just for a convention. that I did back in 2016 when I was repping a company. But yeah, for wrestling, the farthest I've gone was the Cincinnati, Covington area.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Now, do you have any funny, like because you're like you say you're over there in Florida, man. Do you have any funny travel stories you can share with us? Because I know down there in Florida, you got Florida man, you got Florida woman, you got all kinds of critters and creatures. You know what I mean, lurking the roads, man. Like, have you ever come across something crazy like that? On your travels, the shows, maybe at night or something.
Oh, dude, let me think. I'm trying to not mesh my stories with Georgia and Florida because there's a lot of similarities with people. Um, I don't think there's a lot of stuff I can say on the live net that has happened in Florida in terms of that I may or may not have been part of, but um, I do know there was one time where we did it where me and the superstars did a show down in Clearwater, and it was either Clearwater or Port Richey, and we ended up going out afterwards, and one of our buddies came with us, and our buddy was he's from Tampa, I'm from Tampa. The two superstars are not. They're from Alabama, or no, one's from Tennessee, and the other one is from, I think it's Paradise City. But they don't know anything about the Tampa life. So we're walking down, we're passing these bars, and there's this guy just standing outside, and he's trying to talk to people. Now, most of the time in Tampa, you don't stop and talk to people. You just like you keep on going because these people. Unfortunately, we got a lot of weird people around here. But they ended up sticking around and talking. So I remember me and my buddy looking at each other, and we're just like, "Oh, you can tell they're not from Tampa." But I think that's definitely a story I can tell that I can remember from Florida that has to do with wrestling. Any other ones would have to be like, I don't even think, because I don't remember us traveling to Tampa that much. We traveled a lot to Tennessee. We've traveled a lot throughout Georgia, Alabama. I don't remember, like, if I ever came down to Florida, a lot of times I would come down here on my own and I would stay with family. There's plenty of stories where the pirate goes out and is having his way with rum, and then somehow the pirate finds his way home, and the car is in one side of the city, and the pirate's on the other, and I don't even know how that happened because I didn't take an Uber, so that was the even funnier part. But yeah.
Hey man, hey, don't worry, man. I know about. I've had stories like that too, man. It's like, oh man, it's like, it's like, oh, where's my car at? It's in a different state. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I
It's
guess
a
I got
whole
road trip
classic,
today.
dude. Where's my car without the aliens? You know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much. Oh man, that's funny. Oh, so speaking of the man, you talk about the conventions and stuff, man. Are you into the horror stuff, man? All that. The vampire, werewolf stuff, like you said, man. Are you into that also?
So I wasn't necessarily. I wouldn't say I was like into the vampires and the werewolves. I
Hmm.
think I did it because because I liked the convention scene
Hmm.
and I liked the people that were in it. So I was like, all right, these are my friends, these are my family. I want to hang out with them. I've watched the shows. I've watched all of them. I've watched Riverdale. I've watched One Tree Hill. I've watched Vampire Diaries. I've watched all of them. Great. Me and my older sister have watched Grey's Anatomy a few times together. I mean, that's just, I actually do like those teen dramas. But I can't say that those are like the vampires and all them are like my favorite favorites if it came to horror. If it comes to horror, I'm like a classic slasher person. I like all
Yeah.
the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, the Screams, Halloween, Jason, Freddy, all those guys, Chucky. But for the conventions, I mean, I mainly just did them because those were my friends, those are my family. I haven't really done one in, I want to say before COVID. I want to say when,
Mm.
like, before COVID hit, so 2019, 2018 might have been my last one. And I do know there is one coming up that my friend who did the One Tree Hill and the Vampire Diary convention, she's doing a 90s decade, 2000s decades convention in January. and I am going to be part of that security team most likely. And looking forward to that one, to see all of our friends, to see her do her thing and be great at what she does. We do have some pretty good names coming in for that one. Chad Michael Murray from Cinderella Story and One Tree Hill. And Drake Bell, everyone knows who Drake and Josh is. We got some cast from The Lost, Johnny Tsunami for whoever remembers that movie, Phil of the Future. We got plenty of people coming, and it's going to be a pretty good convention. It's going to be down in Orlando.
Oh man, that's pretty awesome, man. Yeah, man, getting to hang out, work security at conventions, man. Probably get to, shake hands and chat with, some
Those are
cool
the best
people and stuff.
parts.
I didn't know One Tree Hill was like a supernatural type deal, man. Like when you're saying stuff, like I remember it being on like CW, but I just thought it was just teen drama, like also
So it
space.
is. It has nothing with
Okay.
supernatural.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay,
literally like a high school teen drama.
okay.
CW just has a lot of supernatural stuff on there
Yeah.
because I mean that's the fan base that watches their stuff. I mean, hey, if that's what you're gonna get, you're gonna put it out. But they're more like it's One Tree Hill, Dawson's Creek is more. Riverdale's the one that kind of went down the dark turn,
Yeah.
and I watched the show from beginning to end, and it was a great show. And was it taking you 15 different directions? It absolutely was, but I was in it for the long run. I grew up with like the Sprouse twins, so I think one of them was on that show, and then the killer from Scream was on that show, and then Luke Perry was on there, Jungle Boy's dad.
Hmm.
So and he was fun to watch. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember Riverdale. I remember catching it and I was like, man, it kind of bugged me that Jughead didn't have the crown, wasn't wearing the crown. You know what I mean? It was like I haven't seen all of it or whatever. I remember it was the first season. I'm checking in. I was like, man, how come Jughead ain't got that crown, man? I was like, man, it kind of bugged me. I was like, all right. I don't know if
They
he eventually did
do. They'll
start
give
wearing
them
it,
the
but
crown. It's just like in a weird, different, alternate universe way that they do it. But they do end up giving Jughead that crown. But I
okay,
do agree
that's
they
cool.
should have gave him the crown in the beginning.
That's cool. Yeah, man. Yeah, yes. CW's always like that. I mean, I watch Supernatural. I watched that from beginning to end. So I can't. I don't really hate on any of those teen dramas or any of that stuff. Because it's like, yeah, I'll watch some. There's stuff. Yeah.
No, I got
So
that.
speaking
Yeah,
of
I
that,
agree.
man, I do got. Oh no, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go go.
Speaking of those, like what are there any like new movies or TV shows you're into right now? Anything coming up, that you just seen or you're looking forward to seeing, watching? Because I'm always
Okay.
trying to find something new
There
because I'll
was a
get stuck
movie
watching
that
the
just
same
got
stuff like
dropped.
comfort
It
shows.
was filmed
Okay.
in 2023, and it just got released about a week or so ago. And it's an independent film. It was done by one of my coaches, Glacier Ray Lloyd.
Hmm.
Haku's in it. I'm sure y'all have heard of it. Called The Unbreakable Bunch.
The
Haku's in
Unbreakable
it.
Bunch.
Luther Biggs is in it. Ernest the Cat Miller. I think Gangrel has a role. It's the Expendables, but wrestling, and I like it more because of the wrestling aspect and because of the actual personal connection I have with some of the people in the movie. But also like, and I was telling my coach this morning when I texted him about it, is that movie serves as a time capsule in my opinion, because when I go and watch it, Camp 7 was the last camp to do training at Chip Smith Sporting Performance Center. I don't know the exact name. I probably butchered it, but we were the last camp to go there. So now they have the camp in a different city, and they're doing great things over there. But when I watch this, and I would hope that if some of the other people that have gone through that facility, when they watch it and they see, you know, the back rooms, they see where the ring's set up, and just exactly what the room looks like, so that's where you went and bled, you sweat, and you cried in, and you put in all that work, and you see some of the other wrestlers who are just extras in the crowd. Um, Hell, the referee in my coach's first match in the movie, his name's his Ray, and he was my first referee in the match at the showcase. And when I saw him right away, I was like, oh man, like I love that guy. He did my first match. He's a great dude. Like he's in it. Like this is incredible. They're just and that's a good movie. I think a lot of people, especially if you're a fan of wrestling, go and watch The Unbreakable Bunch because I would put it up there with The Wrestler. It's not as dark as The Wrestler. The Wrestler is a super dark adaptation of telling our story, but The Unbreakable Bunch is very, it's an uplifting sci-fi movie that I think the legends have done a really good job with, and definitely if you are a fan of wrestling, watch this movie.
That's cool. Can you find it on like Amazon or
It's on
anywhere?
Amazon. There's a few other streams, but the biggest one's on Amazon.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Unbreakable Bunch, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, man, I've always wanted to, like do something with like like a movie or TV show with wrestlers, man. I think I like do it. I always had this idea to do a wrestling TV show, but with no wrestling, and then also no hugging and no learning. It just like show as little wrestling as possible. Like just like people coming out and be like, "Oh man," or like like very little. Like something like
A
that.
lot like funny you say that. That sounds a lot like Blue Mountain State. It's a college
Oh,
football
I love that
movie
show.
without college football.
Yes, I love that show. I
Yeah.
remember, I was so mad when they canceled it. My brother and I, we used to, because when it came out, I think I might be in my late 20s or whatever, man, early 30s, man. It was just hilarious. Like, oh yeah, and then I get to see Reacher, and then I'm like, Thad. All right, yeah, there we go. I like seeing him, from that Thad role. Now he's, a big action dude. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I like seeing that. I like seeing people doing that come up, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they had a movie, Blue Mountain State. I heard they're going to like reboot it or something.
They
You
are
know what I mean?
supposed
Have
to. They're
like those
supposed to
guys
bring
come
back
back as
Thad.
coaches or something.
So if they bring back Thad, I think it'll do really well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bring back Thad and the quarterback. I
Alex
can't remember
Moran.
his name. Yeah, the
Alex.
main dude. Yeah, he got to come back too.
Mm-hmm.
So before I pass it on back to Remy, man, I do want to say thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule, coming on and chatting with us, man. I had a blast talking about listening to stories about your wrestling career, talking pirates, all that good stuff. I wish you nothing but the best, man. I hope you get to travel and achieve all your dreams and do what you need to do. And I wish nothing but the best for you, your family, and all that good stuff, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Trent, it was an honor to have you on here. Keep on doing that great work, great walk. Keep on walking the plank on not just your opponents, not just your rival Rob Reese, but all the haters and the doubters. Keep walking that plank on their asses. I wish you nothing but the best with your career. I hope you get to wrestle all your dream opponents and whatnot. Best believe if I see you on WWE or AEW or TNA, I'll be like, yo, we just had that guy on our show, man. Now he's doing good big things. It's happened. And I'm
Thank you,
telling you
man.
right now, if you go back to our history, look us up on Spotify and YouTube, you'll see that several of our people have gone on to do great things. And actually, one of our guys, guy by the name of Jack Cartwheel, he actually just got signed to WBID. So I was like, wow, well, look at that. And 4 years ago, he was a guy that followed us first. I'm like, we were like, oh, you're a wrestler, okay. Since you followed us first, we're gonna follow you back, and we're gonna invite you on our show because we want to hear you tell. We want to hear you tell your story. And now he's a prospect for WWE. So you never know, man. Things
Never know.
we might see you walk the plank on Solo Sikoa or Roman Reigns or one of them. You never know, man.
Godspeed. Hopefully it happens.
Yeah. So before we shut this show down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out when next appearances, purchase, Trent Edwards merchandise, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
Best way to find me is on Instagram at Captain Tokebeard _Trent Edwards. That's my best social media to get a hold of me. So yeah.
Awesome. So y'all heard, definitely make sure you follow this man on Instagram. Make sure you cop that Trent Edwards merchandise. That way, when he gets signed to WWE or TNA or AEW, and some jabroni comes up and is like, "Yeah, I got the new Captain Tokebeard shirt from AEW shop or Shop WWE or whatever they name their merchandise websites." When they pull up to you like that, you be like, "Man, I got the Captain Tokebeard from when he was on the Indies, man. I'm an OG fan, Trust me, it's a great feeling when you do things like that."
I appreciate
But
it.
And like I said, for those you probably thinking, oh, Remy, you're just talking. This is an Ugly Ducklings T-shirt I'm wearing. This is from the Indies. I bought
Oh
this.
wow.
So yeah, shout out to Rob Askew and the gang. So I practice what I preach. So y'all definitely don't come after me. Those of y'all watching and listening. But all the best, Trent. Keep on doing great things. We got your opponent on next week. So
Yeah.
make sure
Yeah.
you check that out.
Yeah.
Prime works
Give
off.
him my best. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. But we're definitely looking forward to that. And with that being said, it's about time for us to shut this show down. My eyelids are getting heavy. My stomach is rumbling. That means it's time for dinner and a nap. Maybe not in that order, but before I partake in those activities, Rob Bass, the Mel Gibson to my Danny Glover, the Riggs to my Murtaugh, and the Devon, the Bubbery to my Devon. Where can fans find you on social media when they want to talk wrestling, find out where your next appearance is, purchase Rob Bass merchandise, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
You can find me on Facebook, or Instagram, Rob underscore base, Facebook Rob Base. You can catch me. It's December 12th. We're going to be in Houston, Delaware, 1CW. Last show of the year. You can catch us there. I'm not sure all the matchups yet because we still got a couple weeks, but I'll definitely let you know. And if you want, you can go to delmarvasportsnetwork.com and check out 1CW, from episode 1 all the way up to the latest episode we have done. So you can catch up with all the storylines, all that. You'll see me, ring announcing, one week, reffing the next, and then security the next, then all the, you'll see me doing everything on there. So all that good stuff. Definitely check us out. If you don't have, if you're not in the Delmarva area, it's delmarvasportsnetwork.com. You can get it on your phone, Android, Apple, whatever the app, all that good stuff. So definitely check us out.
Cool.
Awesome. And like I said, I keep saying this before. I keep saying this. If 1CW is in your area, if you're in the Delmarva area and 1CW shows up in your area, check them out. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. I can say so because I've actually been to one of their shows, and I was definitely, amazed by the work they put out. So definitely make sure y'all check out 1CW. And if you want to find me on social media, not that I say a lot of cool things, but I do go to a lot of cool places every now and then. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Blue Sky and TikTok. Okay, so Twitter and Instagram are at the Remy Blue. TikTok is at the Remy Blue. I'm also on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue as well. And I'm also on Blue Sky. I think it's RemyBlue.bluesky.show. Just type in Remy Blue and you'll find me there. So I don't know how Blue Sky has their little weird things, but I'm on those platforms. Definitely go ahead and check me out there. Our podcast is on social media as well. We're on Twitter and Instagram, Ringside Society, Twitch at Ringside Society 2019. We're on Facebook as a Facebook group. We're also on Blue Sky. Type in Ringside Society, you'll find us. I don't know the exact link, but we're on Blue Sky as well. No, we're not leaving Twitter. We're just reaching out to more people. And we're also on Spotify. We're also on Teespring, where we sell official Ringside Society merchandise. We have T-shirts. We have hoodies. We even have coffee mugs. We're going to add more designs soon, so check us out there. All proceeds go back into keeping our show afloat. Last but not least, we also have a YouTube channel where you can see cool interviews like this one, like the one we had with CJ Montana, Jack Ledger, many other great men and women from the Nightmare Factory, many other great men and women from all over the professional wrestling industry. You can find those interviews on YouTube, and all you got to do, it's really simple. It's not rocket science. It's not even algebra. Go on YouTube, type in Ringside Society, and once you see that really good-looking dark blue and light blue yin-yang sign with the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to all our videos because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. And like we said before, actually coming up this weekend, I think either tomorrow or Saturday, we're gonna be having our AEW Full Gear predictions show. So definitely check that out. We haven't announced any special guests yet, but there may be a special guest. Who knows? We're kind of unpredictable here. And after that, the next week we're going to be having Trent's opponents. Prime Works off. I'm gonna get his by the time the interview rolls around.
I believe is what his name is.
It's what Prime Works
off work.
Prime Works offer. I'm gonna get it right. Prime, don't beat me up. I'm gonna get your name right next week, man. I got you, bro. But yes, we're gonna be having Prime Works off Prime, and he's gonna be telling us about his story as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And with that being said, we just want to thank everybody tuned in tonight. We really and truly appreciate it. Thank you very much. We strive on being one of the best wrestling podcasts a wrestling fan could, should, and would listen to. To those of y'all that are going to listen later on or get a chance, thank you very much in advance. And those of y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away, well, like myself at the Golden Corral and Rob Bass at the Taco Festival, we're not going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
And we ain't stopping. So with that being said, we just want to let everybody know we're very well and aware, everybody and their grandparents and the parents of a podcast. But we're not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hashtag we are not the same. So with that being said, hey, yo, Rob Bass, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, one time for the Nightmare Factory Camp 7, lucky number 7, and one time for Captain Tokebeard, who's gonna walk the plank on all them suckers that go in the ring with him, Trent Edwards.
Woo!
What type of podcast are we?
We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast.
That's right, we're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. We'll be back next or later on this week with another impressive episode. But until then, we just have 4 favors for y'all. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and enjoy wrestling. We out. Peace.
Thank you.
See y'all. Good night. Stay classy, Delaware.